Now for video number 2, Thursday. Again, silverdoctors.com. Business debt defaults are now higher than when Lehman Brothers collapsed in 2008. There are more business debt defaults than in 2008 when Lehman collapsed. We haven't had another collapse. And yet, these defaults are happening. Not only happening, higher than it was. You are about to see more very clear evidence that a new economic crisis has already begun. I mean, as if you didn't already know, for God's sakes. Me screaming at you every morning in your left or right ear. Michael Snyder, the Economic Collapse blog. During economic recoveries, business debt delinquencies generally fall, and during times of economic recession, business debt delinquencies generally rise. That's a pretty fair statement. In fact, you will see below that business debt delinquencies shot up dramatically just prior to the last 2 recessions, and the exact same thing is happening again right now. In 2008, business debt delinquencies increased at a very frightening pace just before Lehman Brothers collapsed, and this was a very clear sign that big trouble was ahead. Unfortunately for us, in 2016, business debt delinquencies have already shot up above the level they were sitting at just before the collapse of Lehman Brothers. And every time debt delinquencies have ever gotten this high, the U.S. economy has always fallen into recession. In article after article, I have shown that key indicators for the U.S. economy started falling in either late 2014 or at some time during 2015. Well, business debt delinquencies are another example of this phenomenon. According to Wolf Richter, business debt delinquencies have shot up an astounding 137% since the fourth quarter of 2014. Delinquencies of commercial and industrial loans at all banks, after hitting a low point in 2014 quarter 4 of $11.7 billion, have begun to balloon. They're delinquent when they're 30 days or more past due. Initially, this was due to the oil and gas fiasco, but increasingly, it's due to trouble in many other sectors, including retail. I'm telling you, I've been watching Sears for the last few years. I can't believe, speaking of retail, Sears is still around. And we never see this kind of rise unless the U.S. economy is heading into a recession. Here is more from Wolf Richter. Now, he says, note how in this chart by the Board of Governors of the Fed, delinquencies of C&I loans started rising before recessions, which are the shaded areas, and I'm going to show you this in a second. I added the red marks to point out where we stand in relationship to the Lehman moment. Man, that's a tiny little. Let me bump this up a little bit, because that's a little on the small side, if you know what I mean. Let me just grab this baby right here. So we got 1999 on the far left, 2014, 15, 16, which is above, 16 is above my bald head. But you can see these shaded areas, right? There's the tech bubble burst, 1999, 2000, 2001. Excuse me. That's even further back, 1990, 93, yeah. So we're talking 1990. Then we have in the center of the page, which is right here, the 2001, 2002, 2000, whatever that time frame for the tech bubble bursting. Then we go over here to 2008, right? So see this purple line every time we have this, and this was a doozy, right? I mean, if you look at these are relatively the same, it seems like. Then we have this doozy in 2008, and then we're here where my bald head is. Once again. So, one thing I know, so let me get myself out of the way, is like 2008 and unlike this previous one over here, if you look this thing climbed a long ways, and it was steep. You look at this one over here, it's like doing the same thing. It is just as steep. The question remains, when's it going to get way up here? We talking this year or next year? It's one or the other, because, again, when you look at this, 2008 quarter 3, which means right around here is 2008. This whole shaded area is essentially 1 year, right? From left to right here, it's about a year. That's 6, 7, 8, 9. It's about a year. So if we're here, and we're in 2016, and it starts this year, we can expect a year of this. Now, remember what my thoughts were. Similar to quarter 3, 2008, when it hit. As I mentioned a million times now, Bush is walking out of the office, Obama's walking into the office. You can't blame either one because, I'm telling you, my opinion is that they're going to do it again this year. Hillary's going to walk in, or, they've chosen her. I'd love to have Trump in there, but regardless, they've chosen Hillary. So Obama's going to walk out, she or whoever's going to walk in, then they're going to let it hit. Keeping in mind, it might hit just before the election, as in just like this, September, October, then in November, because in 2008, September, October is when this happened. Then, November election. So we may have the same exact scenario here. They may, in fact, hold off till the elections or not. It may just be just like it was in 2008, September, October, boom, they hit us with it. And then for the next month, you have them talking about who's going to fix it and what they're going to do, and yada, yada, yada. So, back to the article. Let me get my view back to normal. So it says business loan delinquencies are a leading indicator of big economic trouble. He says, to me, this couldn't be any clearer. Just like the U.S. government and just like U.S. consumers, U.S. businesses are absolutely drowning in debt. I watched that show. I've mentioned it's a good show to watch. I think another one comes on every Sunday. It's called Life or Debt. And the guy goes in there and tries to straighten people out, stop spending here, tighten your belt here, do this, raise more money by doing that, always gives great advice. And when you see these stories, my mind says, oh my God, that's a typical American. Spend more than I have. I'm in debt up to my ears. It doesn't matter if they're making six figures or they're making, 50, 60,000. It doesn't matter. These people operate the same way. It's just the way it is. So every time I see that, drowning in debt, I think of that show. It's so true. And in that show, he says something like, I think his stats, it's the beginning of every show, they play the same thing he says every time. And he says something like, 3/4 of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck and are one disaster, one unforeseen problem away from a financial disaster. If those numbers are right, maybe it's 2/3 or 3/4, whatever he said, that's a significant amount of the population essentially living paycheck to paycheck. It says, well, American companies, actually, I skipped a piece. In fact, a report that was just released found that debt at U.S. companies has been growing at a pace that is 50 times faster than that rate that cash has been growing. Just imagine what it would mean for your family if your debt was growing 50 times faster than your bank account. Needless to say, this is an extremely troubling development. And it says, it links to Business Insider. So that title, American companies are masking or cooking the books, a $6.6 trillion mountain of debt. Debt can be a good thing. Really, Business Insider. It gets the wheels of the economy moving. Too much debt, however, can be a bit of a problem, to say the least. Well, American companies may just have a mountain's worth of problems, according to a new report from Andrew Chang and David Tesher of S&P Global Ratings. At the same time, the imbalance between cash and debt outstanding we reported on last year has gotten even worse. Debt outstanding increased 50 times that of cash in 2015 wrote Chang and Tesher. Total debt rose by roughly $850 billion to $6.6 trillion last year, dwarfing the 1% cash growth, $17 billion. So back to the main article, and the really bad news is that banks all across the country are starting to tighten credit to businesses. In other words, they are beginning to become much more reluctant to loan money to businesses because debts are going bad at such an alarming rate. When the flow of credit to the business community starts to slow down, it is inevitable that the overall economy slows down as well. It is just basic economics. So the deterioration of the U.S. economy that we have witnessed so far is just the beginning of a process that is going to take quite a while to play out. And let us not forget that most of the rest of the world is already in much worse shape than we are. Most global financial markets are officially in bear market territory right now, and some nations are already experiencing full-blown economic depression. See 100 or 200 of my freaking videos on Argentina. Excuse me. Yeah, actually, yeah, you could include Argentina too, and Brazil. I meant to say Venezuela. But you can include all of them because they are all in big trouble. Not like Venezuela. They're terrible right now. I would not want to be living there right now. Now that the early chapters of the next crisis is here, most American families find themselves ill-equipped to deal with another major downturn. As the guy said in the show, you're one little thing away from financial ruin. In fact, USA Today is reporting that approximately 2/3 of the country is currently living paycheck to paycheck. So there's my stat. That's what I was looking for, the guy on the show. So it was 2/3. I thought it was either 2/3 or 3/4. 2/3 of the country is currently living paycheck to paycheck. What in the hell kind of middle class do you think that is? Not to mention, these same people we're talking about living paycheck to paycheck, their incomes across the board. And it doesn't matter if they're down here, up here, or way up here. Everybody is living beyond their means, except one person I know, JSNIP4 family. You know the only debt I have right now. Well, we do use our credit cards, pay them off, use credit card, pay them off, keep our credit going. I don't really include that because it's so little. We essentially have my wife's van, and yes, we pay rent here. That's it. That is it. JSNIP4 cannot live paycheck to paycheck. Seeing this stuff coming, Lindsey Williams warning years ago, everybody get out of debt, get out of debt, get out of debt as best you can. Pay everything off as best you can. That's what he was saying. And he'd been saying this for several years. And as I read this, it's painfully obvious why. 2/3 of Americans would have difficulty coming up with the money to cover a $1,000 emergency, according to an exclusive poll, a signal that despite years after the Great Recession, Americans' finances remain precarious as ever. How could that be? Obama said anyone that talks like this is peddling fiction. We're peddling fiction. USA Today, you must be peddling fiction as well. So when USA Today says it, old JSNIP4 says it, Gerald Celente says it, SGT Bull says it, his guests say it, is that like synchronized? Like what was the word I was looking for? Like synchronized swimming, synchronized peddling, right? Peddling fiction, synchronized peddling. We all get together and we say it together in a big swimming pool. You know, synchronized peddling fiction. Just going to ask you something. Can you just erase what I just said? Pretend I didn't say that at all. That was not a good one. Moving on. These difficulties span all incomes, according to the poll conducted by the Associated Press and ORC Center for Public Affairs Research. 3/4 of people in households making less than $50,000 a year, and 2/3 of those making between $50,000 and $100,000 would have difficulty coming up with $1,000 to cover an unexpected bill. And I did not read this before I did this video at all. I saw the headline, opened it up, said, yep, I'm going to do a video on this. So this lets me know what my thoughts are spot on. I'm not far out there. I'm not making stuff up. When I say people, if you're in this part of society, as far as income goes, or this part of society, everybody is living far beyond their means, which should make for a spectacular crash. Because when you have too many people, the majority of people anywhere in dire straits, the system can't survive. Which also means there's going to be an enormous amount of bankruptcies coming and terrible credit hits on people, people's credit scores. Which means what? How can I go get that new house I want built? Or buy someone else's house? The lenders are going to have to start remodeling their current credit score system and set it down to where it's like below the red that says like worse than terrible, and that's where it actually starts at, where hey, you're approved. But then you got another problem. If the person who was in debt up to their eyeballs is down there and you approve them for a loan, how all of a sudden are they going to be worthy of paying off the loan when they just defaulted on a ton of other stuff? See, it's kind of a the old snake eating its tail. Ouroboros. It's going to be an interesting time to be around, good or bad. And honestly, there's going to be some bad times for sure for quite a few people. I'm hoping it ain't you, and I'm certainly hoping it ain't me. What are these people going to do when they lose their jobs or their businesses go under? If you have any doubt that the U.S. economy is already in recession mode, just look at this chart over and over. And I'm going to click on it. It's the one that I already showed you. It's the one I already showed you. That one. Which, see if I can move that over a little better for you. Maybe not. Anyways, whatever. You saw the chart. It's the same one. Just little gray lines, little bars, and a little spike, another little spike, and another one already up. And it's not just going like this. It's almost straight up and down. So it's going to be up there in a hurry, which is why I said probably 2016, 2017, the party's going to get started. Why would it be this year? Because we're in an election year. You can't blame the outgoing president. You can't blame the new one coming in. And the club has figured out in 2008 that's the greatest thing to do. That's why I think it's going to start this year. Could be wrong. They may hold it off till 2017 because they may say, you know what, Trump's going to end up getting this thing. And we want to make him look like a piece of trash. So he's going to get into office. The economy will stay together. Next year he's going to start making some changes that we don't like. We as in the club. And then we're going to nail the economy. And we'll use the mainstream media to blame it on Trump's policies. That would be another way they could go. Take care.